All right, ready for another deep dive? Today, we're tackling the 5-second rule. You know, the one by Mel
Oh
Robbins?
yeah, it's everywhere these days.
Exactly. And whether you're like a total productivity guru or, someone who struggles with
We're
procrastination,
just curious. There's a lot to unpack with this technique.
totally. Because we're going to look at the story behind it, the science,
Yeah.
and even how it connects to like NASA and breaking bad
Oh, and
habits.
don't forget the inner wisdom part. That's always
It
fascinating.
really is. And to help us make sense of all of that, we've got our expert with us.
It's great to be here. So, in a nutshell, the 5-second rule is basically a countdown, right?
Right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yep, that's the one.
And it's all about stopping yourself from overthinking and just getting moving before your brain can, talk you out of it.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. But Mel Robbins didn't just pull this out of thin air, right? There's a story behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
She was actually going through a really rough time. Like, worried about money, lacking motivation, and just feeling stuck.
It happens to the best of us.
And get this, she saw a rocket launch countdown on TV and thought, what if she launched herself out of bed the same way?
Huh. That's pretty amazing.
Right. It was a super simple idea, but it totally worked. And there's a reason for that. You see, our brains are wired to protect us. So when we think about doing something tough, our brains are like, nope, and they come up with all these excuses and distractions.
So it's like hitting the override button on those mental roadblocks.
Exactly.
Before we dive deeper, don't miss using our powerful anti-procrastination toolkits with 7 and more productivity tools all in one place. And for free, a notebook, projects manager with Kanban and subtasks, read later tool, accountability tool, habits tracker, Pomodoro timer, ambient sounds, and more. What is better than that to fight procrastination? Link in the description.
And by counting down, you activate your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that makes decisions and helps you take action.
Okay, but can we break that down a bit? Like, what's actually happening in our brains?
Sure. Imagine it like this. The countdown gives your prefrontal cortex a head start before fear and doubt can take over. You switch from thinking to doing.
So it's like a mental shortcut to action.
Exactly. And, it's not just about getting out of bed. Mel Robbins uses it for all sorts of things.
Like that great story about her business idea. She almost stayed in bed, but then...
But then she had that aha moment. She listened to that inner voice urging her to get to work.
And bam, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And she's up and working on her idea. It's so cool how simple yet powerful it is.
It is. And, this connects to the idea of locus of control. The more we believe we're in control of our actions and future, the happier and more successful we tend to be.
So even little things like using the 5-second rule can help us feel more in charge.
Exactly. Each time you take action, even if it's small, you're basically working out your agency muscle. You build that sense of empowerment.
I'm starting to get the bigger picture here. But how does this all tie into forming good habits?
Great question. Remember Charles Duhigg's habit loop? Cue, routine, reward. Well, the 5-second rule can hack that loop, especially when it comes to breaking those bad habits and replacing them with good ones.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How does that work exactly?
Let's say you're trying to break a bad habit, like Mel Robbins wanted to stop reaching for that brandy at night.
Right, we all have those.
The cue might be a certain time or a feeling of stress. The routine is grabbing the bottle, and the reward is that temporary feeling of relief.
Makes sense. So where does the countdown fit in?
The countdown becomes your new cue. So instead of reaching for that drink, you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you replace the old routine with a new one, like putting the bottle away.
So you're basically hitting the reset button on autopilot.
You got it. And that feeling of control becomes your new reward. You're rewiring your brain to crave that feeling of taking charge, not giving in.
That's pretty powerful. So for someone who's stuck in a similar pattern, the 5-second rule could be a way to break free. You're not trapped.
Exactly. It's about getting back that power to choose, that agency to make choices that align with what you actually want.
I love that. This is getting me really excited. But from what I've read, the 5-second rule isn't some magical cure-all, right?
You're right. It's important to be realistic. While it's powerful, it may not work for everyone in every situation. Sometimes you might need extra support.
Right. So it's a great starting point, but not necessarily a guaranteed fix. What are some other limitations to keep in mind?
Well, for some people, counting down might actually make them more anxious instead of less. And if you're dealing with more complex challenges, Like severe anxiety or depression, relying solely on the 5-second rule might not be enough.
Okay, so it's important to be aware of those nuances.
Absolutely. It's a tool, but it's important to know when to seek additional help.
That's a really important point. We always want to be responsible when we talk about these things.
Definitely.
Okay, I feel like we've laid a solid foundation here. We've explored the origins, the science, and how it can be used to ditch bad habits and create good ones.
And we touched on how it connects to that sense of control, of feeling empowered to make choices that are aligned with your goals.
Speaking of feeling empowered, I know our listeners are all about making things happen. So let's talk about how to actually apply the 5-second rule in different areas of life.
Let's get practical.
So where do we start with this? Like, how can our listener actually use this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to, deal with everyday stuff?
Well, a lot of people struggle with health and fitness, right? Like sticking to a workout routine or eating healthy. That's where the 5-second rule can really come in handy.
Okay, so like, it's the end of the day, you're on the couch, Netflix is calling your name, but you should be at the gym.
Oh, shit.
Do you just start counting down?
Yep. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And by the time you hit 1, you're off the couch and putting on your workout clothes.
So you're basically tricking your brain into taking action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it works for food choices, too. Like you're craving chips, but you know you should grab an apple. Do the countdown.
It's like this little secret weapon for making better choices.
It is. It helps you align your actions with your goals,
Okay, I'm with you on health and fitness. But what about work? Like, a lot of our listeners are super driven, but they still struggle with procrastination, especially with those big, overwhelming tasks.
Oh, I hear you. And, procrastination usually comes from that initial resistance, that feeling of I don't want to do this right now.
Ugh, tell me about it. So how does counting down help with that?
Think of it as your just do it button. You feel that resistance, you count down, and you just dive in.
So no more overthinking or trying to make everything perfect. I just need to get started.
Exactly. Action over perfection. It's about building momentum,
This is so freeing, but this isn't just about work, right? Mel Robbins talks about personal growth, too.
Absolutely. Learning a new skill, starting a creative project, taking up a new hobby, anything where you need to push past your comfort zone.
So for a listener who's feeling stuck, it's like permission to try something new, to break out of that rut.
Exactly. Embrace those new possibilities.
Okay, now I'm curious about how this applies to social situations. What about people who are shy or deal with social anxiety?
Oh, for sure. Like you're at a party and you see someone you want to talk to, but you hesitate.
Been there. So instead of letting the moment pass, I just start counting down.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you walk over and introduce yourself. Or maybe you're in a meeting and have an idea, but are too nervous to speak up. Countdown.
Wow, so it's like an instant confidence booster.
It is. It's about interrupting that hesitation and replacing it with action. Every time you do that, you build your confidence.
This is giving me so many ideas. But can we go back to the science for a sec? It seems almost too easy, just counting down from 5. How does that actually work in the brain?
Well, remember metacognition. Being aware of and regulating your own thoughts.
Right. So are we basically becoming more aware of our thoughts and then choosing to act on them?
Exactly. The 5-second rule triggers that awareness. You step back from those automatic thoughts and make a conscious choice.
So it's like taking control of your mind's autopilot.
You got it.
Mm-hmm.
You're training your brain to be more proactive and action-oriented, and you're tapping into your prefrontal cortex, which is all about making decisions and planning.
I'm loving how we're connecting all these dots, but let's be real here. Does the 5-second rule always work? Are there times when it might not be the best approach?
That's a great question, and honesty is key. Well, the 5-second rule is a fantastic tool. It's not magic. It works best when hesitation or fear is the main thing holding you back.
So for bigger issues like really deep anxieties, it might not be enough.
Right. If you're dealing with something like trauma or addiction, it might be helpful as part of a bigger plan, but professional guidance is crucial.
That's a really important reminder. We always want to be responsible about this stuff.
Absolutely. It's about empowering yourself, but also knowing when to reach out for extra support.
This has been such a great conversation. We've covered so much ground, but there's one more piece of the puzzle we haven't explored yet.
Yes, that idea of inner wisdom.
All right, so we're back and ready to explore that inner wisdom piece.
It's like that extra layer, right? It's not just about, pushing past hesitation. It's about listening to those little nudges we get, those instincts that are often trying to point us in the right direction.
You know what? That makes me think about that story Mel Robbins told in her video about how our brains create a kind of task list when we set goals, and then our instincts kick in whenever we encounter something that can help us achieve them.
Oh, yeah. Like when you work by a gym and your goal is to get in shape, your brain might light up, like reminding you of that goal. It's like your inner wisdom saying, hey, here's a chance to actually do something about it.
So all those times when we hesitate or debate with ourselves, it could actually be our inner wisdom trying to steer us.
Exactly. And the 5-second rule helps us act on those whispers of wisdom
Hmm.
before, our doubts and fears take over.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see the bigger picture here. It's not just about forcing ourselves to do stuff we don't want to do. It's more about tapping into what we already know deep down and making sure our actions match up with that.
You got it. It's about bridging that gap between intention and action. And the 5-second rule can be that bridge.
So for someone who's feeling a little lost or unsure of what to do next, it's kind of like giving them permission to trust their gut.
I think that's a great way to put it. Recognize that you already have all this wisdom inside of you. And sometimes all it takes is that 5-second countdown to unlock it and, turn it into something real.
This has been such a great conversation, but before we wrap things up, are there any key takeaways or tips for a listener when they're using the 5-second rule?
Definitely. First, be consistent. The more you use it, the easier it gets. It's like any habit, the more you do it, the more natural it feels.
So even for small things, just keep practicing.
Exactly. Another tip is to connect the countdown to your goals. Before you start counting, remind yourself what you're working towards. It'll boost your motivation.
That's such a good point. It's easy to lose sight of the big picture.
It really is. And don't be afraid to experiment. See what works for you, whether it's getting out of bed, starting a project, or having that tough conversation.
So it's all about adapting the rule to your own, needs and goals.
You got it. And last but not least, be patient with yourself. Learning anything new takes time.
So no beating yourself up if you don't see results right away.
Exactly. Just keep practicing and trust the process.
I love that. It's about the journey, right? Just showing up for yourself and taking those small steps toward creating the life you want.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap things up. So to our listener, we'll leave you with this. What's a small instinct you've been ignoring lately? What would happen if you used the 5-second rule to act on it?
Remember, you have the power to make things happen. The 5-second rule is a tool, but the real magic comes from you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you're feeling inspired and empowered to take action. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.